It's day 24, friends. We're full steam ahead on our 30-day English vocabulary challenge. A video a day, every day for 30 days. We're learning 105 words from the academic word list. Words that will help you have sophisticated English conversations. Words you need to know if you're preparing for an exam like IELTS or TOEFL. I've been watching the posts you've been making about this challenge. It's incredible, inspiring. Make up a sentence to a word you learn and post it on social. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to download the study guide that goes with this 30-day challenge. You can do that by clicking here or the link in the video description. Learn the words, ace the quizzes. You've got this. Our first word today is consequences. Consequences. First syllable stress, it's a plural noun. Things that happen as a result of a particular action or set of conditions. You should carefully consider the consequences of making a career change. What will result from it? Will you have to get more schooling? Will you have to start at a lower salary, for example? Let's look again up close and in slow motion. Consequences. 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 And now we'll go to Youglish for 5 examples.
Stress has physiological consequences.
Stress causes things to happen in the body. The heart rate can go up, for example. This is a result of stress.
Stress has physiological consequences.
Here's another example.
Freedom of the press does exist in Afghanistan, and there's consequences if that's not followed.
Grammatically, that phrase should be their consequences, not theirs consequences. Theirs being used incorrectly instead of their is something that's happening more and more in English. Anyway, there are consequences. She's talking about a journalist who is illegally exiled from Afghanistan. A rule or law is broken here, and therefore there are some consequences. Things will happen as a result of breaking the rule. In this case, she was able to get the Afghan government to formally reverse the exile.
Freedom of the press does exist in Afghanistan, and there's consequences if that's not followed.
Here's another example.
We haven't taken the time to look at the consequences.
Haven't taken the time to look and see what happens as a result of this particular action. Sometimes it does take some time, long term, to understand the consequences of an action. For example, right now, lots of health organizations are trying to understand and learn about the long-term consequences of having COVID-19, but it may take years to fully understand that.
We haven't taken the time to look at the consequences.
Another example.
And we're now living with the consequences of that decision process.
Living with the consequences. This usually implies something negative has happened. You can do something without thinking it through or without knowing or caring about the long-term effects.
And we're now living with the consequences of that decision process.
Our last example.
There may be horrible consequences for making different choices.
In any given situation, we make a choice based in part on what we think the consequences will be. We guess if they'll be good or bad, if they'll improve our lives or not, and we weigh that with what we want to do now in this moment.
There may be horrible consequences for making different choices.
Our next word is previous. Previous. It's an adjective, existing or happening before the present time. She has a child from a previous marriage. Let's see this again up close and in slow motion. Previous. 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 And now we'll go to Youglish for 5 examples.
So let's talk a little bit about previous career experience.
Previous career experience. Work you've done in the past in jobs where you no longer work relevant to this career.
So let's talk a little bit about previous career experience.
Here's another example.
And in both of your previous books talk directly about the Italian-American experience.
Previous books. Books you wrote before the one we're discussing now.
And in both of your previous books talk directly about the Italian American experience.
Here's another example.
It was a much more diverse group than previous years.
There was more diversity in this group, people of different ages or races or income level or experience level on a particular topic, and so on. There are lots of different ways a group can be diverse. And this year, the group was more diverse than in past years.
It was a much more diverse group than previous years.
Another example.
But I'll tell you that the previous administration had really cut the health department to the bone.
Previous administration. This refers to the people who ran the government before the present set of people. This guy's talking about New York City. So that would be the mayor and all the people the mayor picked to help him run the city. Not the current mayor, but a previous mayor.
But I'll tell you that the previous administration had really cut the health department to the bone.
Our last example.
I went to his previous tech talk.
His talk that happened at another time. Earlier.
I went to his previous tech talk.
Our last word today is final. Final. This is a dark L, final. Oh. You can make that dark sound by keeping your tongue tip down, and actually you should. Lifting your tongue tip will bring the sound more forward. The dark sound is made here in the back. Final. Final. It's an adjective, means happening or coming at the end. They won their final 4 games. It also means something will not be changed or done again. All sales are final. That is, if you buy something, you can't return it. Let's look again up close and in slow motion. Final. 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 And now we'll go to Youglish for 5 examples.
Their final book on leadership, which is their last book, their last word on leadership.
Final book on leadership. They would not write on this topic again.
Their final book on leadership, which is their last book, their last word on leadership.
Here's another example.
First there's 64 teams, then there's 32, then there's 16 and 8 until there's one final team left.
One final team left in the tournament. One last team. The one team that's left after all of the games have been played.
First there's 64 teams, then there's 32, then there's 16 and 8 until there's one final team left.
Here's another example.
The final piece of the puzzle came into place in 2016.
The final piece of the puzzle. This is a phrase that means the last missing part. As you're trying to learn something, to figure it out, you do research, you gather evidence, but you don't quite understand it until that final piece comes in that makes the answer clear. The part that you need to know, the very last clue.
The final piece of the puzzle came into place in 2016.
Another example.
And we had our final rehearsal, a dress rehearsal, preparing for Hong Kong.
The last rehearsal, the one at the very end of the rehearsal period before the show opens.
And we had our final rehearsal, a dress rehearsal, preparing for Hong Kong.
Our last example.
My final recommendation may be a little controversial.
This person is listing recommendations to marketers on how to get people to buy smart devices for their homes. She has a final recommendation, the last one on her list. Controversial means likely the public, or at least some people, will disagree with her recommendation.
My final recommendation may be a little controversial.
Seeing all the real-life examples can really help you understand how to use these words, can't it? I have a challenge for you now. Make up a sentence with one of these words, make a short video of your sentence, and post it to social media. Tag me and use the hashtag Rachel's English 30-Day Challenge. Don't be shy, you can do this. I've loved seeing what you've posted so far. Our next video comes out tomorrow at 10 a.m. Philadelphia time. Come on back to learn 3 more vocabulary words. In the meantime, keep your studies going with this video and check out my online courses at Rachel's English Academy. You'll become a more confident English speaker. And please do remember to subscribe. I love being your English teacher. That's it, and thanks so much for using Rachel's English.